Hello everyone, Jeff here. So a couple weeks ago we released the character creation demo for Antilia, and I'm really happy with the way that turned out. It was a lot of work. It took a lot of effort getting the final steps and all that stuff built, but I'm glad it's finally done and I'm really happy with the results. So this week I thought we'd take a little bit of a look at that. I'd talk about some of the stuff that went into that and some of the decisions we made and some of the things that I'm kind of looking forward to in the future. But towards the end of the video, I also want to talk about what's next for the project, what our next big goal is, and I hope you'll stick around and stay tuned for that. So let's go ahead and get started and take a look at the character creation demo. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the features in the Antilia Character Creation Demo. Now, if you haven't had a chance to play with this, you can go ahead and go to antiliagame.com and go to the download link here, and you can download it and play with it yourself. Feel free to give it a try and let me know what you think. So first I want to talk about a few of the kind of surprise features that I was trying to kind of keep a little bit under wrap, a little bit secret. I can't resist doing that. I always have a few things I try to include that I don't tell the community about, just so it's kind of fun when you download it and you get your hands on it. There's a few things that you didn't know were going to be in there. So let's go ahead and create a character, and we'll see the first couple of those. One is this giant statistics panel, which I was kind of keeping under wraps. The other is that the Saki and the Reisui are kind of in the game, kind of. Some awesome meshes created by Abigail. They give us a little bit of a preview of what the other races are going to look like when they get into the game. But for now, you can only pick the Tepi if you want to create a character, so we'll go ahead and do that. So another thing we kind of kept under wraps until the official release was the addition of the statistics menu. Whenever I showed screenshots, I'd turn this off for the time, just because this was all kind of work in progress, especially early on. It didn't look quite so good. It was less organized, and just the name of the core attributes we had to figure out. We were kind of moving those around and changing those right up until the last few days. Same with the discipline list. We were, it's like 2 days before release, and suddenly we noticed there's no carpentry skill or something like that. Something obvious is missing. But in the end, I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. I do feel that the whole process here, there's just kind of too much going on the screen. I really prefer having just one GUI panel and the 3D character. Having this extra statistics panel is a little overwhelming, and in the future I'd like to, I'm not sure where I put this, maybe put it behind some sort of thing that toggles it on and off or something, or switches between the character and the statistics. Just a minor detail that we'll work out later. Another bit of a surprise feature was this community gallery. I'm always trying to keep the community aspect of Antilia together, even though we're moving towards a game that includes single player game. I don't want to lose the community aspects of the game that we had with the MMO. So that's why I made sure to include this view gallery share character feature, because it ties Antilia, even the character demo, back into the community aspect, and you get to see your friends and the characters they're creating even in the character demo. I think that's really cool. Next, I'll just page through the character creation process real quick and just kind of leave some comments on things that worked well or didn't work out so well. The first few pages here, there's not a whole lot of surprises. I think everyone saw this in earlier videos I've made about the character creation process, and nothing really changed here. I do think that having these long lists that scroll through are a little tedious. I'd like to find a better way to organize this, but that's something I'll just kind of keep working on kind of in the background as I work on other things. Same with the Customize tab. Not a whole lot new here. It's all pretty much what anyone who's played with this before kind of expected, and what we've seen in previous videos already, so I'll just kind of jump past that. I do think that some of these sliders could maybe have a little better range, some of them, like the snout shape, you can barely see what it's doing unless you really zoom in. So, and I definitely do want to add more body sliders to get these characters looking much more, distinctive. When I do that, we'll probably have to turn the clothing off for a while I work that out. And then we'll have some nice body sliders for things like upper and lower body muscle tone, body fat, proportions, and that sort of thing. So, and I think once we have that, I think the characters will really start to take a lot of different shapes and will start to look cool. Also with the age slider, I'd like to have them characters maybe hunch over a little bit as they get older, and maybe add some kind of silvery specks in the fur if they're older. So, in the Birthplace tab, there's a few new options which several people noticed, like Malay Beach and some of these new smaller villages that were added to the geography of Foro recently. And of course, your Birthplace will also affect a couple of your core attributes as well, which is kind of an interesting little boost. Next is the mother and father, pretty much the names tag. This is the first place where you're really introduced to these kind of decisions about your character history, which affect your core attributes and disciplines. And another cool thing about this tab is the name generation with the tapey script. And it's kind of cool if you just start typing a name, you can watch the tapey script kind of change as you're typing, which is pretty cool. When we get to the education tab, this is where we had to make kind of a critical decision about how the player chooses or affects their core attributes and disciplines. Obviously, we took a route that not only are you changing your core attributes and disciplines, but you're also kind of providing a bit of a backstory for your character. By choosing these things, you're kind of establishing information about your character that other NPCs might in the future play upon. If you pick a small village school, or that you were kind of raised in the wilderness, that might affect the way other NPCs interact with you, and maybe, you know, they went to the same school or they were also in that same academy or such. So I think it's kind of interesting. Obviously, it doesn't give quite the same control as if you could just click on these and do kind of like a point distribution kind of thing. So that was tempting as well, but we ended up doing this approach, which is to let you choose a bunch of kind of background information. Now the personality tab, there's a bunch of options that don't do much as far as changing the appearance of your character or your stats. This changes kind of the behavior of how your character will be simulated when you're not in direct control of that character, which is kind of an odd thing, but it's kind of food for thought for the development team. I wanted to put a lot of the stuff like the emotional makeup stuff. I may actually remove this in the future, but I wanted to put it here to give everyone, including the developers, a bit of a taste of what's going on kind of behind the scenes with the character and how that relates to magic and your character's history and all that. So, and there's some neat features in here, like if you change your favorite color, it changes the background color. And if you didn't notice, yeah, on all these lists, you can just click the middle and it drops out a list you can select from. With the difficulty tab, there's a lot of interesting design decisions that we're kind of in the process of making. I really like this idea that each individual character has their own, you get to set the difficulty per character. I think that's really useful, especially in a multi-character game where you can perhaps play on a server with up to 3 characters or something, that you can have some of them play a little bit more difficult than others, which may be easy, but have a lower level cap. So there's a lot of interesting things and food for thought. I think we're going to continue refining the system because we do have some concerns about being able to take too many handicaps or take easy handicaps and then take the wrong kind of bonuses. So we're going to continue to kind of create some limits on this to make sure that it doesn't become a system that's too easily abused. Which basically wraps up the character creation process. You can enter a description and character quote, and it's really cool going to the community gallery and seeing, I'm kind of surprised, pleasantly surprised, at how everyone's been using the quote system and the description to pretty good effect. It makes these characters a lot more interesting to read about and to take a look at. So now there's some things about this interface that I do want to continue working on improving. I'm not terribly happy with these camera controls or this toggle clothing option. So we'll continue, of course, to improve those things. And of course, the character mesh as well, and the animations, those all need to be improved. And we'll continue making progress on those. So that's our character creation demo. Again, you can go to antiliagame.com, go to the download section and try it out for yourself. And of course, leave your comments and leave your feedback because I'm curious to hear what everyone thinks about this. So that just leaves the question of what's next for Antilia. What's the next goal for the project? And there's a couple different options on this, and even up till last Saturday, I hadn't quite figured out which direction we wanted to go. One way we could have gone was to just keep working on the character creation demo, start improving the character meshes, and sorting out some of the issues there. That was real tempting, and I really wanted to do that. It'd be really nice to have a demo that really reflected the quality of the product that we're trying to create. But there's a couple hangups there. There's some issues with the mesh editor. It's not quite behaving the way I want it to right now. So what I've decided instead is we'll just kind of continue on in the kind of the footsteps of the MMO, and we'll move on to creating our first gameplay systems, which will be fishing. It's always an easy system to get into, and there's a lot of potential for just developing a lot of the core systems like disciplines and skill trees and stuff like that. So I'm really excited for that. We'll probably do kind of a fishing event, maybe a bit of a fishing contest. We'll see about getting a server online because I know Playing online with friends is a big part of Antilia. Part of its appeal is the multiplayer aspect, so I want to get the multiplayer stuff working. There's a lot of things on my to-do list to get all that put together, but I'm real excited to do it, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to get into the game and start interacting with other players and actually have some gameplay again. So I'm really excited and looking forward to that. I hope you are as well. If you have any questions or comments, of course, leave them in the comment section down below. And if not, I guess we'll see you again next time. Take care. A special thanks goes to this month's Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support the project, you can do so by visiting www.patreon.com/Antilia.